All right, let's talk macroeconomics. We're going to do a super quick tour of the big ideas, the core models that really drive global economic policy. Think of this as the ultimate cheat sheet for making sense of the headlines. So let's just jump right in.
Every economy has a pulse, right? It's got its own vital signs. And just like a heartbeat, it is never, ever a flat line. This is what we call the business cycle. It's this natural rhythm of expansion when everything's growing, and then it hits a peak, starts to contract into a recession, and finally it bottoms out and begins the recovery. The whole game for anyone managing an economy is to try and smooth out these waves, make the good times a little less crazy and the bad times a little less painful.
Okay, so for the next few minutes, I want you to imagine you're in the driver's seat. Yeah, you're the one calling the shots at the central bank or the treasury. The decisions are yours. And to make those calls, you've got to understand the machinery you're working with. So first things first, let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine. The classic model that economists use to see the whole system at a glance is called the ISLM model. It's really just a way to see how two huge parts of the economy, the market for all the stuff we buy and sell, and the market for money itself, actually talk to each other. Okay, first up, we've got the IS curve. This is all about the goods market. And the logic here is actually pretty simple, but it's super powerful. Think about it. When interest rates are high, it costs more to borrow money, right? So what happens? Businesses, people, we all invest less. And when investment goes down, the overall economic output, our national income, goes down with it. That's why the curve slopes down like that. Now for the other half of the engine, the LM curve. This one's about the money market. So as the economy starts humming and everybody's income is going up, what happens? Well, we all need more cash for groceries, for rent, for everything. That higher demand for money pushes up the price of money. And what's the price of money? It's just the interest rate. So more income leads to higher interest rates. And here is where it all comes together. That single point where the two curves cross, that's the magic moment. It's called the general equilibrium. It is the one and only combination of interest rates and income where the market for goods and the market for money are both perfectly happy, perfectly in balance. It's like the "you are here" pin on your economic map. Okay, so now you know where the economy is sitting. But as the person in charge, you've got goals, like keeping inflation low and making sure people have jobs. And that, my friends, leads us to one of the biggest, most uncomfortable trade-offs in all of economics. This is the famous short-run Phillips curve. And for a long, long time, people thought of it like a menu. You could pick your combo. You want to cool down rising prices? Let's say you want to go from point A down to point B on this chart. Okay, you can do that. But look at the cost. Unemployment has to go up. There's just no free lunch. But, and this is a big but, that neat little trade-off kind of fell apart in the 1970s. Suddenly, economies were getting hit with stagflation. That's high inflation and high unemployment at the same time. The simple curve said that shouldn't even be possible. Turns out, the whole thing only really works if you can catch people by surprise. And that led to this really critical idea. In the long run, the curve is actually a straight vertical line. It sits at what economists call the natural rate of unemployment. What that means is, once people start expecting inflation, it stops working its magic. No matter how much you try to juice the economy, unemployment is going to snap right back to this natural level. You just can't buy yourself permanently lower unemployment with higher inflation. The market is just too smart for that.
Okay, so you get the engine, you get the tough choices. Now, how do you actually steer this thing? What are the levers you can pull? Well, you've basically got two main toolkits.
So on one side, you've got monetary policy. This is the central bank's job. They're kind of like the independent mechanics of the system. They fiddle with interest rates and the overall supply of money to keep inflation in check and the system stable. And then on the other side, there's fiscal policy. This is the government's playground. They use taxes and spending to try and boost growth and employment, which of course has a big impact on the national budget. And in a perfect world, these two teams are working together. But wait, there's one last absolutely crucial piece to this puzzle. It's the ghost in the machine. It's the human element. See, all these neat mechanical models, they work pretty well until you factor in what people think is going to happen next. So economists have a couple of main theories on this. You've got adaptive expectations, where people are basically looking in the rearview mirror. They figure tomorrow will be a lot like yesterday. But then you have rational expectations. This is where people get smart. They're forward-looking. They read the news, they see your policy announcements, and they try to guess your next move. And if they can do that, well, it can make your policies way less effective. It's a constant chess game.
Whew, okay. I know that was a whirlwind tour, but we have really hit the absolute core concepts. Let's pull it all together on one final dashboard, shall we?
So here it is, your policymaker's dashboard. You've got the money supply, all the cash and credit sloshing around. You've got your ISLM model, that's your GPS telling you where the economy is right now. The Phillips curve is there reminding you of the tough trade-offs you have to make. And then you have your two big toolkits, fiscal and monetary. Those are your steering wheel and your gas pedal. Honestly, if you get these concepts, you are ready to understand pretty much any major economic debate out there.
And all this leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? These models, they give us this amazing scientific-looking framework. But when you factor in the sheer unpredictability of people, of global shocks, is managing a modern economy really more of an art than a science? Is it less about mechanical engineering and more about judgment, intuition, and maybe a little bit of art? Something to chew on.